Hey, 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 beautiful souls. Oh, I'm a little shiny today. But welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my life for Becoming Supernatural Reflections on parts 1 through 3 of chapter 4. You may know that I had to re record this because my last night's live did not save to my YouTube channel. I was a little bit devastated by that, but we move. We move, and the second time is the charm. So, just to reintroduce myself, I am Brittany, your manifesting mentor. I'm not a coach, I'm not a guru, but I am a woman who lives this work daily, and I help others to do the same so that they can create a life that's more aligned with who they truly desire to be. And if that sounds good to you, you're in the right place. I am so honored to share this space with you as we dive deeper into chapter 4 of Becoming Supernatural. This chapter covers blessings of the energy centers, and this chapter is personal because it's not just theory, it's practice of healing, transformation, and alignment. And tonight we walk through parts 1 through 3. And you'll learn how Dr. Joe explains the energy centers of the body, not just as chakras, which is what most of us know them as, but as electromagnetic centers that hold information, patterns, and power. I'll also share a personal story about how these teachings helped me move through a tough emotional day with grace and a deeper sense of faith. I'm also going to talk about that on my TikTok. I drop a video probably later this afternoon. I said tonight, but later this afternoon. So I'm actually reading my notes from last night, by the way. So please pardon me for that. And I'll also talk about how this emotional day it helped me basically move through my day with grace and a deeper sense of faith. So grab your tea, your journal, and your heart, and let's tune in. Yeah. So, introducing the blessings of the energy centers, part 1 is where he talks about basically what the chakras are. He doesn't call them chakras because he believes that the language of chakras might divide the community. People will stop tuning in because of their religious views or things that they've learned from the past. So, energy centers is more scientific, and most people accept science regardless of their religious background, right? It's why we trust the medical field. It's why we go to the doctor and we allow them to prescribe us medicine or different treatment options or surgeries. We don't know a whole lot about it, but we trust them, right? So, anyways, some of the talking points that I jotted down was that the body's energy centers or chakras are biological, they are energetic, and they are emotional hubs. Many people don't know this, but you store a lot of energy from emotional memories in the different chakras of your body. And so Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that by blessing these centers, we can intentionally raise our intention. We can intentionally raise our vibration, enhance coherence, and promote self healing. So many of the people in his community, stories of transformation on his YouTube channel, give a lot of credit to blessing of the energy centers meditation, which we're going to learn about in part 4. They give a lot of credit to this meditation for helping them actually heal. And I'll talk more about that, but it's when you place your attention, which Dr. Joe taught us is the greatest currency that we have as humans in this 3D reality. Because where you place your attention, as he says, is where you place your energy. The very energy, creative life force that you need to create vitality in your body, that you need to align yourself with your manifestations. When you use that same attention and you place it on the different parts of your body, the different chakras or energy centers, you are creating more coherence in those energy centers. And he also tells us that this is all about inner alignment, not just thinking about what we want, but becoming clear, open, and receptive to it. So, in this section, again, he just basically introduces what they are before he gets us to do a deeper dive into why they matter. And we'll get to that in part 2. But before we get to part 2, I did have some questions that I went over last night, but I'll do it again here. And that question was for the first one, what does it mean to bless the energy centers? And basically, it means to place your awareness, your intention, and an elevated emotion into that part of your body. So, like if you're thinking about your root chakra or the the area of the body where your sexual organs are. Some people, depending on what's happened to them in their lives, if they have sexual trauma, guilt, shame around sex in any way, a lot of times they'll be thinking thoughts that are negative and not really realizing it because it's all happening subconsciously. So what he's saying is, this time you're going to be aware of your thoughts. You're going to be aware of where your attention is, and it should be on that particular area. And you're going to bless it, thinking loving thoughts, feeling loving emotions. And he says that you're going to love that center into alignment because it has its own mini brain. We're going to talk about this more in the next chapter and next part of the chapter. But he says that each blessing carries a frequency that transforms how the center works and also vibrates, and it also helps support your goals. Because when you can get stuck energy from being unstuck, now you're no longer stuck in terms of like raising your frequency to align yourself with whatever it is you want to draw into your experience. Another question that came in says, can this actually affect physical health? Yes, yes, and yes. Because if you check out Dr. Joe's channel, Stories of Transformation, thousands of people have tapped into their energy centers, have learned how to align their frequency from within. And Dr. Joe teaches that coherence in the energy centers improves hormonal balance, immunity. He says it improves mental clarity. Energy leads matter. He says that matter doesn't lead energy. Energy follows matter. I'm sorry, energy leads matter and matter follows energy. So when you bless your body, it begins to reflect the energy that you're blessing it with. And so that's how people are able to then tap into their electromagnetic field, fill it up with more higher vibrational frequencies, and then help their bodies to align and become more coherent in different areas, thus creating healing. So I think it's fascinating. I've gotten so much benefit from the meditation part of it, and just having a deeper understanding for what I'm doing when I meditate. So I'm not just doing any old body's chakra balancing meditation on the internet because it doesn't do anything for me. When I came into Dr. Joe's work and I could understand what I was doing from a scientific standpoint, it anchored in my understanding, which anchored in my conviction for giving it a try, because it's all one great big experiment at the end of the day. And some people are like, well, why would you want to experiment? Why not? I want to experiment because if I get sick and I go to the doctor, that's all they're doing. They're guessing at best. They're using whatever knowledge they've exposed themselves to as individual practitioners to guess about my body. Why would I not want to try my own things out? Try and see what works for me when I know my body best. I know me best. They don't know me. When you go get surgeries, they're doing the same thing. They're guessing at best. They're using, again, whatever information they chose to expose themselves to guess. And so we're doing the same. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but it resonates with me. That's how I choose to move. And so far, so good. And I've met a huge community. There's millions of us now. You're one of them because you're here. And yeah, I think it's phenomenal. So I'm just going to move on to part 2, convergent and divergent focus and entering the subconscious mind. First of all, convergent and divergent focus are very important concepts that I think you really want to anchor into. It's a very brief section, part 2 of chapter 4. But when you start to really intentionally practice it, you're going to see how it reflects in your outer world and how you deal with problems or conflict or just your life in general. But the talking points I wrote down is that convergent focus is logical, linear, and survival based attention. It's when you're faced with a challenge or you're in danger and you narrow your focus and pay attention to the littlest details. Like if you're somebody who ruminates, for example, you'll keep playing something, a conversation that happened over and over in your head, analyzing every little detail. You saw her body language. Did you hear what she said? She said it like this. She said it like that. And that's convergent focus. It's linear, it's logical, and it is based in survival attention. So he says divergent focus is expansive, it's open, and it's quantum focused awareness. It's when you're able to zoom out and see the bigger picture, basically. So the shift from analytical thinking, which is convergent, to Heart-centered awareness, which is divergent, helps us access the subconscious mind where real change happens. So when you can zoom out, that's when you become more expansive, more creative, and you can see things from a bird's eye view and not just be so hyper focused on details that really don't matter and really don't serve you to focus on. This is how we prime our bodies for change, creation, and healing. And so, in Dr. Joe's meditations, in all of his meditations, he does something called the induction process. And that's where he gets you to focus on parts of your body in space and around your body in space. And he's doing that not because, when you first start, it's going to feel silly. You're going to be like, what the hell is he doing? But when you read this chapter of the book, you understand what it is and you understand how it's actually a cheat code to slipping into deeper states of the subconscious. Slowing your brain waves down long enough to get into alpha, theta, and gamma brain waves. And that's when you can tune into possibility. Because when you're tuned into every detail in your life, you're focused on what is instead of what could be. You're focused on what is instead of the potential of possibility, instead of a potential solution, right? You can't embody the state of your wish fulfilled when you're in this convergent focus. You can only do so when you zoom out and into divergent focus and slip into more healthier brainwave patterns, slip into that subconscious mind, which basically your autonomic nervous system is controlled by this mind. And so this is how we prime our bodies for change, for healing, and for creation. So I did get questions submitted for this. One person said, how do I know if I'm stuck in convergent focus? As I mentioned before, if you're someone who ruminates, usually I attribute this to people who are very anxious or depressive. If you find yourself to be very anxious, it's probably because you're someone who ruminates. Rumination just means your thoughts are looping. You're overanalyzing or you're fixating on problems, just like I talked about before. You're likely in convergent focus when you do this. And so when you shift your brain into divergent focus, you zoom out. You feel relaxed, you feel present, you feel aware of space rather than stuff. You feel aware of possibility rather than the facts, right? This is what Neville talks about when he says circumstances don't matter. He understands that because convergent and divergent focus was a major part of his conditioning. He was an actor, right? He had one of the best coaches on the planet, which was Abdullah. And Abdullah wasn't an actor himself, but he understood that it's almost like being an actor. You have to embody someone totally different, a total new character in order to see things play out in your life differently. And Neville, being a trained actor or, a trained performer, he knew this. He was able to slip into these different states a lot easier because of his training. So I would say that divergent focus is where you want to condition yourself to show up. And you only really get there through practice. So the more you practice these meditations, the better you get at it. It doesn't happen overnight, trust me. The next person says, what's the quickest way to enter the subconscious mind? Any of Dr. Joe's meditations, especially the ones that has the induction process of placing your awareness on, your heart center, your solar plexus, your pineal gland in the back of your head in space. This is conditioning. He's literally training you to learn how to shift your focus from convergent to divergent, back and forth. And so through relaxation, breath, and heart coherence, you're able to do that as well. I recommend Wim Hof's breathing technique. It's about 11 minutes long. It's here on YouTube, but it's really good for easily slipping into coherence. And that helps you bypass all your analytical thinking and all the things that chatter that won't stop. That's one of the quickest ways for me to slip into my subconscious mind. Also, heart coherence. When you focus on your heart or the in the center of your chest and you breathe into it, in and out of it. It's called heart coherence meditation. Sometimes it takes about 5 minutes to really get into a groove. And then if you can linger in that for a while, you'll start to notice that your brain waves slow down and your brain and heart grow connected, and now you're in coherence. So basically, my favorite way of all of these is meditation. And that's why I recommended Dr. Joe's. But meditation helps you bypass the analytical mind and tap into the subconscious where your beliefs, habits, and possibilities are stored. So check out any one of those options. They're all awesome. It just, whatever works for you, stick with it. Now I'm going to go on to part 3, how the body's energy centers work and getting acquainted with the energy centers. And this part helps you really anchor in your understanding for why your energy centers are so important. In this section, he talks about how every energy center has a brain. And he said, if it has a brain, it also has a mind or consciousness of its own. So don't just think of your chakras as just those little circles of light. They are literally their own individual minds of intelligence, of consciousness. And every time you place your focus and awareness on them, you're activating them. It's like they're like, oh, you're acknowledging me. I am here. It's like they have their own soul, if you think about it. The way he explains it, it's literally just like that. Each center has its own soul, and you want to acknowledge the soul of that center. You want to commune with the soul of that center. You want to let it know that you love it and you appreciate it for everything that it's been doing to sustain your life while you're in this body. You want to grow a loving relationship with every soul of every center. And so each center, he says, corresponds to a specific physical function and emotional pattern. And so, some, for example, survival, creativity, love, and intention, intuition, different centers are responsible for these different functionings, even emotionally. And he says by bringing awareness to these centers, it gives us the power to rewire how we relate to life. So I'm going to share a story in a little bit about how I used to relate to life, how I used to relate to stress, and how that affected my body. And I'm just going to share a quick experience that I had 2 days ago, actually, because I think that it's very beneficial to this particular part of the book. But in essence, you don't need to fix everything. Okay. What you need to do is just become more present with what's there. So a lot of people come into this work wanting to heal from something. And that's cool because the healing will come. But you don't want to focus on the healing. You want to focus on changing how you relate to your life. You want to focus on changing the negative emotional patterns that you've been presenting, the ones that throw your nervous system out of whack, the ones that keep you in a depressive state or anxious state longer than what's healthy. Because being in a state of fight or flight for the long haul is not healthy, right? It introduces adrenaline and cortisol, which are stress hormones. And he says that each of these centers corresponds to a physical pattern and an emotional pattern, but it also creates their own hormones in the different centers of your body. So rather than being in the stressful states, you want to learn how to intentionally create states that help you secrete healthier hormones so that your body can naturally do what it came here to do. And in essence, like he says, when you're not focused on getting the thing, when you're not focused on fixing everything or fixing the problem, so to speak, but instead you're focused on growing your relationship with your energy centers, when you're focused on changing how you relate to your life, that change internally will naturally produce the change in your body necessary for healing. You will then be creating an environment where your body can do what it came here to do. But just to segue into my personal story, I had a moment this week where I felt emotionally overwhelmed. And it was one of those days where nothing seemed to flow and I couldn't shake the heaviness that I felt in my abdomen. And I say my abdomen because I carry a lot of stress in my abdomen. When I feel anxious, I'm tense, mostly in my abdomen. And I've known this for years, but I didn't always have the solutions to how to fix it. Not until I came across this book, Becoming Supernatural, and all of Dr. Joe's teachings, his coursework, and all the things that he's produced around educating us on what we're doing in our bodies. I didn't have the answers. And so what I did was what I've been talking about lately. I leaned into Dr. Joe's meditations throughout the day. Tuning into new potentials is one of them. We're going to learn about that in another chapter. But blessing of the energy centers is my absolute favorite, number one meditation. And so I did both of those before I went to bed. And it wasn't until I did the last one right before bed that I had my breakthrough. I realized after doing that meditation, after sitting with my energy centers and especially my solar plexus, my abdomen, where all of my digestive organs are my all of my what do you say, my cleansing organs, my liver, and all the organs that basically detoxify my body. When I'm in a stressful state, when I'm anxious about my day and the things that I have to get done, or someone that I know might be very anxious, and when I'm dealing with them, that energy gets passed on to me. I carry it in my abdomen, and it doesn't feel good. It never felt good. And now I'm learning how to break the pattern with how I relate to my life and stress and even other anxious people. Like, I'm learning how to manage that. But what I realized is I didn't have to resist the emotions that I was feeling. I didn't have to resist the frustration. I didn't have to resist the annoyance. I didn't have to resist the pressure. All I had to do was sit with them. When I'm in that blessings of the energy centers meditation, I'm sitting with my energy centers and I'm acknowledging how the emotion is affecting them. I'm acknowledging the sensations physically that I feel in my body when I'm emotionally feeling those feelings. And I could sit with them and I could bless my body for carrying them. Because our bodies really are our greatest allies. It's our best friends. It does everything it can to keep us here and keep us well. But we don't know that we are also stewards of our bodies, and how we govern our bodies gets to influence how well our bodies are able to support us. So, when we're young and naive, we do all the things to our bodies thinking that we are Teflon Don. We'll try drugs, we'll indulge in alcohol, we'll have terrible diets and think that we can sustain that for forever and nothing will happen. But when you pair those habits with how you emotionally relate to your life, it affects you. And for many people, it causes disease in different areas of the body. And for me, I had started to experience some digestive issues myself, and I had to recognize, wait a second, these two things correlate. So I really started doubling down on Dr. Joe's work because I really wanted to make an impact and forget, improving health. And I won't say like that's a small feat. It's very important. But I also understand that if I change the pattern, then the health automatically self corrects, right? The issues automatically will self correct. And so I realized that I could sit with the emotion and I could bless my body for carrying the emotion, and I could still get up from my meditation and believe that my prayers are being answered. And that's what Dr. Joe talks about all the time. Most of his meditations, he'll say something along the lines of, when you return to your body and you open your eyes, get up from your meditation as if your prayers are already answered. And when you linger in that divergent focus of possibility and creativity, you're blessing your energy centers and you're sending them love and gratitude for everything that they've been for you, how they've helped sustain you. And you let go of the external factors, let go of the stories, and just be. What you'll find is that the emotions will pass, they'll subside, and you can let go of the day and just trust that my prayers are still being answered and I don't have to be perfect. And this conditioning process is just that, it's a process. And I can practice and keep showing up for myself and still believe. And so I wanted to share that because that was my shift. I shifted from trying to control my feelings to actually just surrendering, letting them be. They are what they are. And I believe it's because I gave my energy centers a chance to process and release what my mind could not fix, because it's not my job to try to fix it, right? It's my job to be present with what's there and to send it love and release it because it doesn't belong to me. Your emotions don't belong to you. They're just sensations that you're passing through states of consciousness, and none of it belongs to you. All right, so for one question that I've gotten from this section is, what if I don't feel anything when I focus on my energy centers? That is perfectly okay. It's actually very normal. Presence is more than enough, as I mentioned before. The more you practice, the more you're present with the different energy centers, the more sensitive your body will become to subtle energy. So you'll end up being more responsive over time to your attention the more you practice. In the beginning, I didn't feel anything either, but now, fast forward to a few years of practicing, I would say up until 2 years ago, I could be doing anything and will feel sensations around different energy centers. And for me, that's always my signal from my body. Hey, pay attention to me right now. Tune into me and just like focus on me for a little bit. And so I honor that and I do that now. Like I could be in line at Starbucks getting a drink and I'll all of a sudden feel the energy around my body in space, as Dr. Joe teaches us to do in the meditations. I find my body just automatically doing that, and I'm happy about it because I understand that because I've been putting in the work, I'm learning to build a new relationship with my body, and it's trusting me to give me signals that I can respond to, and I trust it to do what it needs to do. I trust it to keep me safe, to keep me well, and to re regulate if I find myself being distracted from my reality, by my reality, and allowing my nervous system to be dysregulated and being in states of fight or flight and feeling unsafe. I have learned to build that trust with my body, and my body is learning to trust me because I keep showing up. So, consistency will get you there. Someone says, how long does it take to feel the results from the blessings of the energy centers? Results vary from person to person. We all have our own different traumas. We all have our own stories of what we think life is and how we relate to life. So never compare your journey to anyone else's. If anything, use other people's stories as inspiration of possibility. But don't ever compare and say, well, they did this and why haven't I? Because now you're shifting the attention from yourself and you're making it about everything external. Don't ever compare yourself to anyone else. And no two people's journey is going to be identical. So throw that notion out the window and just focus on your inner improvement, the changes that you notice, the amount of presence that you can practice rather than being in your head about the future or being clinging to memories of your past. Applaud for yourself, pat yourself on the back for being consistent and showing up and being present, and however long you can linger in that presence, that's progress. Okay. Some people feel immediate emotional results and shifts, others feel gradual peace, clarity, or even physical healing. The key is consistency, not performance. So you're not focused on, did I heal because they healed when they did it in a week and I've been doing this for 3 months? Like, that's performance. You're doing something to get something. Instead, focus on just being consistent, because consistency is how relationships get built. And now it's not just a relationship with someone else or a relationship with something, it's your relationship with you. When you show up for you consistently, you grow your confidence, you grow your trust, you grow your intuition. This is why people who have physical transformation, somebody who might be obese, when they stick to a nutrition, physical fitness plan for an extended amount of time, their confidence goes through the roof because now they're trusting themselves. They keep promises to themselves. So their self concept completely changes when they grow consistent. And it's the same with the blessings of your energy centers. You grow more confident and your belief in yourself actually grows. And you'll see that common denominator in a lot of the stories of transformation on Dr. Joe's channel. When people talk about their healing, the reason they're able to defy their doctors when doctor might say, hey, if you don't do this treatment, you're going to die, is because when they keep showing up for themselves consistently through the meditations, they start to trust themselves more than they trust the doctors. They start to believe in this work more than they believe in the doctors. And guess what happens? The placebo effect. Dr. Joe wrote a whole book called You Are the Placebo. That effect is real in human consciousness. What we believe becomes true for us. So when you start to trust yourself and your practices more than you trust a pill or a radiation or treatment, you will start to see results from that more than you would those treatment options. And so that's why people are able to heal themselves. They are shifting their consciousness and expanding what they can tune into in terms of their belief, because your belief becomes the placebo. It becomes the thing that becomes true for you. Two people can be in a part of an experiment where one takes a sugar pill and the other one takes an actual treatment pill, and the person who took the sugar could believe that they're being healed by the sugar pill and they don't even know it's sugar, right? and they'll get the same results to show up in their bodies as somebody who's taken the actual pill, sometimes even more improved than the person who took the actual pill. So this is a real thing, and I want any of you who are watching this to really be open to possibility and understand the placebo and understand why you need to guard your mind and the information you tune into, because what you believe will have to become true for you. It's a self-prophecy thing. And so that basically wraps up parts 1 through 3. Tonight we learned, or today, well, depending on when you're watching this, we learned that healing and manifestation don't start in the mind, they start in the body. And your energy centers are sacred spaces of intelligence. When you bless them, when you tune into them with intention and elevated emotion, you're not just healing, you are awakening to the version of you that's been waiting to emerge. And parts 4 and 5 are coming soon. I'll probably drop them later this afternoon. So stay tuned. Until then, be kind to your body, be aware of your energy, and keep becoming the future you're calling in. It's called embodiment. Who do you say you are? What I am are you claiming? I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder, and you got this.